Hello there, friends. How can I help you?
Yeah, hi. So I got a situation that happened here. I played this Rest in Peace last turn.
Yep.
And I forgot that it exiles or I forgot to say to exile the graveyard.
Right, we both it.
Yeah, I played the Rest in Peace and then I said pass.
I didn't even think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what actions have occurred since this entered the battlefield?
I untapped, I drew for turn, and I played a Verdict Catacombs.
Okay, so nothing else has entered the graveyard at this time?
I was just about to do this when he was like, "Oh no," and then called it judge.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like we missed a trigger. Going from here, seeing how there's been no actions that have put anything else in the graveyard, we'll go ahead and start by exiling graveyards currently. And then this should be a warning, I think. 1 second here.
I was gonna say make sure you look up the rules. You know, if you have to take a second to check the IPG, definitely definitely do that.
Well, I just had a mistrigger a second ago. There's no penalty for that. Yep, so we would just make sure that we get it back to as close to a normal board state. So no other actions have occurred, nothing else has gone to the graveyard, nothing else is affected by this at this time, so we'll just exile graveyards.
So he doesn't get a penalty even though he didn't exile his graveyard? Because since we both have to do it, doesn't that mean...
Does not demonstrate awareness of a trigger's existence for the first time it would affect the game state in a visible fashion. That sounds like mistrigger.
Okay. And what is the fix then in cases of a mistrigger?
Okay, so understanding this, I believe the fix is still going to be that we exile both yards. Both yards are going to be gone. Nothing else has occurred. When that entered, both yards should have disappeared. It isn't a mistrigger. That's a game rules violation.
Okay.
Because you didn't do what the card said you should do right then and there.
But that's a triggered ability, right? The thing that I should have done was a triggered ability, yes?
Yeah, it's falling in a weird spot, but the infraction covers the majority of situations where players made an error to follow game procedure correctly. This would issue you a GRB warning, and then we would follow up with the fix of doing what it said right now, considering no other actions have occurred other than passing the turn and playing a land.
Okay, so why?
So that would be my call at this moment.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a step back.
Sure.
We'll go through step by step. Now, I find that it helps to have some sort of a process or a framework when you take a call.
Yep.
So the framework that I use is we want to identify the infraction that happened first,
Yep.
and then from that infraction, the IPG will tell us what the correct penalty and the correct fix will be. So we've got two options that were brought up for the infraction. What infraction did I commit?
Well, the two choices we had, from my understanding, are either a mistrigger or a game rules violation.
Okay.
That being said, if they both kind of take the same fix, from my understanding right here, that we would then first consider...
Well, remember, we're just thinking about what the infraction that I did was.
Okay.
Did what I do fit as a game rule violation better, or does it fit as a missed trigger better?
Here, that fails to follow the... Okay. Triggered abilities.
And this is kind of a trick question, maybe.
Doesn't demonstrate awareness of the trigger's existence by the first time. Okay. Impact that the trigger would have on the game.
So one criteria that I like to use when I'm deciding which infraction is the appropriate one would be the criteria of which is the more specific one.
Right, I was going to say, because you can...
Game rule violation
is very broad.
Darn near everything that happens could be described as a player.
That's
like a game rule violation.
Yeah. So whereas missed trigger, if it was a triggered ability that they didn't demonstrate awareness of, I feel like that's a lot stronger of a fit. So we've established that missed trigger is the appropriate infraction. Yep. So now we have to determine the correct penalty and fix. And we'll talk about like maybe the correct the correct fix first. Maybe not. Maybe we'll talk about the penalty first. So what do you think? Is exiling all players' graveyards with Rest in Peace generally considered detrimental or not?
Yeah, that's considered detrimental. It could be considered detrimental to a player.
Okay.
Detrimental to the trigger's owner?
Yeah, to me.
No. Okay, yeah, sorry. I could understand from both sides here. So, no, for you it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. So ordinarily, if a player's playing Rest in Peace, they probably want to be exiling both players' graveyards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one criteria. So with Rest in Peace, it's a little bit more tricky. A lot of the time, it's easy, right? Like if you had like you don't have the Nettle Sentinel. We had
if
a
you have
Nettle
something in the
Sentinel
yard that you're like, I need that gone.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, no, that actually is not part of it.
Okay, sorry.
So it basically is based on what the triggered ability does. Like if you got a Nettle Sentinel, where it's like untapped Nettle Sentinel when you play a green, that's not detrimental, right? Like we can pretty much.
You pretty much always want to have Nettle Sentinel untapped unless there's a corner case card that doesn't.
Yeah. Whereas if you have like some like one of those crappy black demons from the oldie days of Magic, it's like when at the beginning of your upkeep, discard your hand and sacrifice 7 permanents unless you pay 7 life or something,
That's detrimental to you for casting.
That's detrimental, right?
Right.
So with this, it's kind of like, there isn't like an obvious yes or no, but based on like the fact that if
right.
you've ever played a Rest in Peace before, you probably were
it's
trying
like
to exile
usually-
their graveyard.
Exactly. You're not usually caring about that's why it's considered usually detrimental. Is like when you're looking at a card like Dark Confidant, losing life is usually detrimental.
Yeah.
And so in most cases, losing life is bad.
Yeah.
Even though card advantage is good, losing life is bad. In this case, if you're playing this card, usually it's because you do not care about your graveyard.
Yeah, you're getting rid of it.
And
You want to
do care about this.
And you do care about theirs also not existing.
So given that Rest in Peace's Exile the Graveyard ability is not generally considered detrimental, now we have to figure out the fix. So let's take a look in the IPG, and we'll take a look at what the fix for the triggered abilities would be.
So if a triggered ability enters the battlefield of an aura, nope, that's
not relevant.
If a triggered ability delayed trigger, that's
Not relevant because it's not delayed trigger.
For all other triggered abilities, if the ability was missed prior to the current phase, the previous turn, instruct the player to continue playing.
Okay, at what point did this triggered ability supposed to happen relative to where we are now?
Pretty much the last thing that occurred, the last game action that occurred other than playing a land.
Well, drawing a card.
Yeah, sorry, passing the turn, several phases have now technically gone through.
Yeah. So if we take a look at what it says, though, I played this Rest in Peace. It would have been during my main phase, and that's when this triggered ability would have happened. We're now in his main phase, so we are still within the window of where that triggered ability, is still live to get put on the stack, right? Do we agree with that? Like, I don't want to I don't want to just say something is true and then.
No, I very much believe that. So nothing has occurred
so
that should
that
be.
sentence that you just read is not apply to our situation here. So next sentence then.
Okay, so that being said, it isn't covered by the previous paragraphs. The opponent chooses whether the triggered ability is added to the stack. If it is inserted at the appropriate place in the stack, if possible, or on the bottom of the stack, no player may make choices for the triggered ability involving objects that.
Yeah, that's not going to be relevant. Okay, so now that we know what we know and we've talked about what we've talked about, what is the ruling that you would give for a player who had this judge call?
So after reading all of those, and those nothing gives me a straight fix right here.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, it did? Yeah, giving it to you and saying, "Can you? Would you like to place it on the stack?"
Yeah. That's what the policy-supported fix for this situation would be.
Okay.
And I'll say no. I got delve spells. I want my graveyard.
Okay.
All right. So now let's just as like a confidence building kind of a thing.
Sure.
Now that we know what the right ruling is, let's practice like actually physically delivering that ruling to the players.
Okay.
So we're gonna pretend that we just
We just
explained what happened, and now it's your turn to like.
So this sounds like a mistrigger players. We will currently be issuing no penalty for this, but at this time we will be asking if you, as the opponent, would like to place this trigger on the stack.
Now wait. With Rest in Peace, it's not a may. Rest in Peace, it's not optional whether to exile. It doesn't say you may exile or do.
Due to us missing the trigger originally, it's now supported by the IPG that we're going to have this player, or your opponent, choose whether or not it will be on the stack as of right now.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and I don't want to put it on the stack.
Okay, so then we would then continue playing from right here.
Great.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
And you will get pushback from players like that, where it's like, oh, it's not a may.
Yeah. The EDH ruling, it's not a may.
Well, it actually used to work like that, I believe.
I know.